First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for being here this afternoon as we consider policy series 4000, our custom policy manual, and also want to welcome those who are joining us virtually. Thank you for joining us and being here. And if we could, let's begin with a word of prayer. Gracious God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the public schools of Robeson County and the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of children and all of those that are affiliated in some way with our school system. And just be with us today as we consider these matters of policy. And we thank you for all that you do for us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
In the interest in not just time, but moving forward with our policy manual, I did notice that while there are a number of revisions, that many of those revisions are editorial in nature, corrected spellings, cross-references, and some changes in the wording, but not a great deal. And if you've had an opportunity to review the policies, hopefully you viewed the chart that has the policy numbers and the recommended editorial changes. Policies are worded in enough detail to clarify the intent, and there are some that are fairly lengthy, as is the attendance policy, and that we want to do justice, but at the same time move as expeditiously as we can. And we will begin with draft policy 4001, equal educational opportunities. And I'm not going to read all of the bullet points that are for our consideration, but the first paragraph has various revisions designed to clarify the board's obligations under state and federal law to provide equal educational opportunities. It goes on to state the references that have been deleted and references to new policies that have been added. And if you see, which it jumps right out at you, of course, on page 101, the notations in red, which are the changes, the recommended changes. There are parts of sentences that have been strike through in the very first paragraph. Basically, it is about equal opportunity and sound basic education, and that students should be given equal treatment and equal opportunity regardless of any ethnicity, any and all ethnicities, and being able to participate without discrimination and be offered opportunity equally.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Policy Committee, do you all view anything that should be added that's not there?
I'm with it.
Okay.
That being said, I'll make the motion that we
We can move forward, certainly. And move on to 1310, slash 2002, mental involvement. And the proposed policy, actually the existing policy, outlines a number of areas where participation and communication is of the essence, and I will not read those to you. You hopefully have already read them. They're numbered 1 through 8 there. There is emphasis in Section A on parent communication and conferences. And I like the wording there. It encourages school personnel to have contact with parents for commendation as well as for notification for concerns. That is always what we're striving for, hopefully, is to note the good things that our students are doing and the positives, and of course address areas for concern when we need to. Are there any questions and concerns or concerns on 1310
Chairman, I
slash
just think
4002?
there's a change in the legal reference with all that was changing that policy.
Right. And that one is in red, as I see it, on page 7 of 7. Okay, if there are no further notations or comments, we will move on to 4040 / 7310. Yes.
You could read out what those new regulations are. I don't see it right now. If Superintendent Williams, read out what the new regulations are. I know I'm overlooking. That's the new amended to the law.
Yeah, and I don't see it in I'll find out and let you know.
Okay. With that being said, Mr. Chairman, I move that we go ahead and accept the new amendment that's added to that law, to general statute of the state, for public laws. Second.
Second.
And you're still referring to
That particular,
407310? Okay. So noted. Then we'll move on to 50, and that's simply a typo that has been corrected in B1C, which is on page 2 of 4. It's hard.
go by it,
Yeah.
23,
Did I?
4023.
4023.
Okay. Education for pregnant and parenting students.
You do have to change guidance counselor to school counselor.
Okay.
With that being said, Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we accept that change revision.
What's the difference?
The wording.
Huh?
Sometime in the law, they'll change a different word pursuant to what that person does.
We changed it to school counselor.
Right.
What's the difference in guidance and school counsel?
It's based on what the law is doing right now. They're looking at a lot of revisions pursuant to what people are actually called to do now in this season, in the new norm. So.
What is
so
the difference between guidance and school counsel?
School counselors have to do a bit more now. It's basically the same thing,
Okay.
but their duties are a little more. They do numerous of things.
And you're referring to the highlighted portion at the bottom of paragraph 3,
Right.
In yellow.
which has to do with the provisions of,
Counseling, they got to actually have counsel now. Taking on different roles.
and I'm looking particularly at the last sentence. The guidance counselor shall also work with the student to establish a plan for resolving any medical emergencies.
And the sentence before it. Encouraged to confer with school as guidance counselor.
Should be school counselor.
So if you change that one, you probably need to change it. It replaced it as, says
School counselor.
guidance counselor.
That does take care of it. The one that's there, it's gonna take care of it everywhere.
Okay.
And that would keep the language consistent with the other policies when we were referring to the school counselor.
Correct.
as well.
Okay.
Because, you know, in the previous 3,000s, we changed there to reflect school counselor as well. So
Match- Yes, ma'am, to match the standards.
Okay, any further comments or questions on 4023?
7310. On that same page.
Say that again, Ms. Brenda.
Page 1, 7310,
Uh-huh.
4044. Revision. You can turn back over.
Page,
On page 1, where you at?
okay, we're backing up to 7310. Okay.
Page 4.
You slipped over from it.
Well, I know, but I'm saying it, page 4.
Staff-student relations. Employees are required to provide an atmosphere conducive to learning. Statement was added to B3 to prevent one-to-one communication between employees and students via electronic video conferencing platform under certain conditions. And that is addressed in page 2 of 4. The red lettered statement.
Mr. Chairman, do the staff, the committee see anything else that needs to be added, Superintendent?
I think it addresses the primary mediums which that communication would take place via electronic video conferencing platform, Zoom, WebEx, Google Meet, that has been approved by the superintendent or designee for instructional use. Occurs after the employee has given prior notice to his or her supervisor or designee that such communications will occur and when they will occur. Dr. Williamson, does that mean that the superintendent needs to review any and all of those requests before they actually take place?
We actually use these platforms now as part of our instructional work, and so it's ongoing monitoring.
That being
So
said,
are there any other mediums or platforms that need to be?
that being said, from the superintendent, I say that we move on and accept what we have been read.
Second it.
Okay,
Can I ask a question? And then, Ms. Freeman, Jennifer, our gaggle would catch some of this if it's happening.
yes,
correct?
it should. Absolutely, through QCons. because it does address those areas that are identified. Anything that you would like to add to that, Megan, as well?
If there's communication coming from the student and it's coming from the student's account, doesn't matter what platform it is, if that student is logged into their account, it will flag anything that would be deemed inappropriate underneath those questionable contents.
It'll catch it. It'll catch those 6 areas.
The good thing about the video conference is it affords the parents an opportunity to take a break from their job and be able to participate in that conference with that teacher.
It shouldn't.
Exactly.
I made a note here beside, number 4 on page 2 of 4, concerning the duty of every employee to notify his supervisor of any unsolicited one-to-one communication in any form, electronic or otherwise, received from a student when the communication lacks a clear educational purpose. And, we all know situations where communication has taken place on a platform that was intended for educational use, and the nature of the communication was not totally educational. Okay, moving on. There is, on page 4 of 4, statement read.
Okay, policy number is that?
This is 407310. Still on that one.
He made a motion to move forward with that when the committee said addressed it. Mr. Henry made a motion to move forward.
Okay. All right, well, moving on to 4050. Children of military families. Only correction there or addition is a typo has been corrected in subsection B, 1C, and you have to look closely to see that the letter R has been inserted through.
That we accept direction for policy number 350.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, 4120 is the next.
4110.
Okay, 4110, immunization and health requirements for school admission are listed on page 1 of 4.
I moved it, we accept the recommendations of minimum immunizations listed.
Okay. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That moves. 4120.
Word correction.
Also contains revision in subsection section B3D to clarify that the termination of school assignment in the situation covered by that subsection will be made each school year. That is so noted. Letter D.
And Mr. Superintendent, if you would, for the saying.
They're saying that homeschool students have the right to participate in LTC. Domicile in that, in the zone.
I make a motion, we accept.
Second.
In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Moving on then to 125. Students. Of the language in this policy has been revised based on new language in the administrative rules and legal references and updated. And again, referring to insertions that are written in red. Any questions or concerns on 4125?
Committee, do you all have anything that needs to be?
It is correct.
Make motion that we accept and move on.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, we're moving on to 4152. Unsafe school choice transfer. And again, this is an update in the legal references. If you look at page 4 of 5, you see that in red. That is the only
Change.
update or recommended change.
I move we accept the change.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Okay, moving on to 02/5029/7272. Policy has been updated to delete references to the repealed policy. Won't read all those numbers and add references to the policy. Again, this is a matter of the policy code itself. That change is noted on page 4 of 4.
Move we accept.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, moving on to 4210. Release of students from school. And again, cross references have been updated, and those are noted on page 1 of 1. You can see that in red.
Superintendent, this is one that the principals have really got to work on the parents with. It's nothing about the staff. It's just that the parents need to pay good attention to that particular policy. Sometimes they love to check the students out at 10 o'clock in the morning and not bring them back and everything and want them marked present. So the importance of this child being there at least 11:30. All day if possible.
Yes. And oftentimes, too often, that's not the case. They're released early. Sometimes for a reason that's not a major.
And staff, committee, do y'all see anything else that need to be added?
Make motion we accept.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right, moving on to 4230. And this one about communicable diseases. And there have been extensive revisions. Those are noted there. And the revised, the column that spells out the revisions.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we accept this here because this is a medical statement that's put in our policy that they upgraded to CDC.
I second it.
Okay, the motion was that we accept this based upon the recommendations of the CDC.
Well, they, in our meeting that we held, across NCD Task Force in the US, this was a heavy discussion and this was what they came up with, so I move that we do accept it. It's the law, in other words.
Okay, there are, as you can see, quite a number of sentences that have been stricken and new sentences added to upgrade the policy. Any other questions? Any questions or comments?
Motion's made and seconded.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Moving on to 2240, 7312, child abuse, related threats to child safety.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we go ahead and set this updated policy. 7312.
Second.
Been moved and second that we accept this policy as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And moving on to
Again, we have,
70.
we have legal reference updates. I make a motion that we accept.
Okay. It's been moved and second that we approve the legal reference update on 4270, 6145. In favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, and then, next one is 4400, which is on attendance.
Chairman, I move this 4400 to our committee to see whether or not, because it said that we're to look at it very carefully. Get the advice for our committee and the superintendent.
I agree.
There is a lot of content in this particular.
I'm hearing a lot of discussion about attendance right now.
And the question that they ask us, if it currently, and accurately rather, reflects our current practices. So to me, that's a position for the superintendent and our staff
I agree.
to receive information from them on this.
Comments I'm hearing to the committee is,
Recommended that we assign this to a committee for.
No, it states in here, I'm assuming if everybody have not read, but it states in here that we're to carefully and accurately look at this to make certain it reflects this school district practices.
So our half-day attendance rule is still in place,
Does it?
which normally is what, 11 o'clock? That piece. But then it makes reference to the hybrid model that we've really been using this year. Does the same standard apply that if a kid is online for half a day, they get credit for the day? Robert, you want to address that, or Jennifer?
It hasn't changed. The expectations have been the same. I know there's been some discrepancies in terms of when we rolled out the academic attendance expectations at the beginning of the year. Are you hearing questions in terms of the reference of how it's being handled, or what exactly? Because I know, Mr. Brewer, you were starting to speak about some of the concerns.
accountability piece.
The accountability piece.
Yes, they're saying, from what I'm hearing from teachers, is we need to put something that's more detailed as far as accountability, as far as children or students' participation in whether it's virtual or face-to-face.
I do know that the staff is steady sending out, I was in and you came into it, a Zoom meeting on last week, and out of the 400 some students, and I really look for the parents to be involved. We only had 39, correct?
Thanks.
But the highest, and I was offended at that. However, knowing that our staff, I see everything taking place on Facebook, our website, the media, and the robust call, and staff doing one-on-one, even when parents come out there. I don't know what else we can put in place to make the accountability more perfect than what our staff is currently doing. However, we know to leave the door open should the opportunity present itself. Would you all agree? You all would know more than what we know, but I do know by us being involved, we see a lot, and we get tired of it, Ms. Brewer.
Yeah.
However, we know that you all are doing a very good job staying on top of accountability in this system.
I understand that there's a sense of feeling that the students know that if they do not participate, that they will not fail their grade.
I haven't heard that, but I do know this here. I've been getting a lot of phone calls saying, have my child got to go to summer school, and if so, why? And my question to them is, have you spoken to the principal and the staff? And they said, yes. I said, what is your child doing? Nothing. And I was in a Dollar General, and I told the parent, I said, well, you're the parent. I said, the staff is doing what should be doing at school, or if they're remote. I said, however, because I witnessed it, I said, however, you got to do your part. So the accountability is upon the student, the parent, and our staff only. So I don't know if there is anything else, Mr. Brewer.
And I did ask the teachers where did they think it should start. They said it should start with the child.
But we are still continuously, I know we've actually had the attendance expectations, we've rolled them out several times throughout this past year. We did revisit them early in September again to make sure if there were existing conflicts that we addressed that with our principals. So that was addressed early on in the fall. In terms of the C3, C6, C10, we've continued with the normal process. We still are sending social workers out into the field. We've actually recently had some pending cases that were prior to the pandemic that I've actually interacted with, where the social workers have taken and gone to court just recently. So the process has not changed in terms of our procedures for this past year. We continue to implement the same existing attendance expectations. Now, yes, we've heard the comments, but I think those are individual cases that I've been made aware of. Megan, could you speak to anything that the counselors may have lent to that as well?
Yeah. So I know that with our counselors, they do follow up with the parents. They are in regular contact with the students, attempting to make contact with them, whether by phone calls or letters sent home. And I do know also that the counselors keep a documentation as to every instance when they are trying to make contact with those families. So they do have the documentation. They have been making an attempt to reach out and make them aware of grades and attendance.
Bobby, let me ask you a question. If a student is not attended for 10 consecutive days, public schools still require that we drop that student fee.
That should be the process. Those kids that aren't following one of these two under A, eitherwise logging in or being in the school or contacting the teacher after 10 days of not, they should be dropped out of public school.
Now, how does this minimum grade fit into this?
You mean the,
Like, I understand the lowest we can give a child is 60. Is that correct?
50.
So how does that fit in with this?
it's board,
If they don't participate at all, they get a 60?
that's the floor.
No, if we have students, and we've had conversation around those students that have not been engaged this year, one, they should have already been dropped.
Oh, that's true too.
Not, then we're not going to social promotion because there's a law against social promotion. And so those will probably be the students, if they don't attend the opportunity of summer school, that will be retained,
It is summer school.
having the choice that The law is a little bit different this year under House Bill 82. Any student that was retained, there was an appeal process to that. That is no longer the case. The law is clear that the principal makes that final decision. And they have to reconsider that retention if indeed the student attends summer school. But there is no appeal process according to House Bill 82 for this year. So that final authority, again, rests with the principal.
And I do understand that the intent of the 60% was to encourage a child to continue to try to do their best. If it was midstream, mid-session or towards the end, they wouldn't just totally throw their hands up and say, I failed and there's no way to recover. So the 60% would give them an opportunity. So I did understand that, but I was just, you know, and you did a good job explaining how it fits in with this piece.
So do I understand correctly that House Bill 82 has made the appeals process null and void?
For this year,
This year on.
need that, Robert?
Yeah, for this year. Yeah, it clearly states that the principal
That's the law.
shall reassess the student's promotion eligibility upon completion of the program. So that authority lies with the principal.
I was asking about the city,
But I'm thinking back to my days
about the House bill.
as an administrator and the appeals process, which number one was interminable. It went on forever and there were pieces of paper this high, every student that was appealing. It just got to be just such a convoluted, and you're right. The students knew how it was going to end up. They knew it was going to end up in their favor. They were going to be excused from all those absences. And the accountability got lost big time.
But what I'm hearing, Mr. Chair, with Ms. Jennifer and some more here's comments, superintendent's comment, I would make a motion that we accept the changes as recommended in this policy.
Second.
If I may, Mr. Gentry,
Yes, sir.
look, and I don't know, this is old, but if we look at page 2 of 8, under that kindergarten, that last paragraph there, I don't believe that's allowable. I think it says that if a kid has 10 tardies, we convert that to an absence.
Don't do that.
So I believe that would have to come out.
Where is that at?
On page 2 of 8,
Under kindergarten?
yellow, that last paragraph under number 1.
Number one.
Isn't that governed on another policy?
Because I know at one time we had a long discussion about converting tardies to an absence, and I don't know if that's I know originally we said that wasn't allowable, we couldn't do that.
That was, excuse me, that was part of the new attendance policy, I think that Ms. Jadell shared at the beginning of last school year. And I do remember that at one time that we were not allowed to do that, but, that was one of the changes in the new attendance policy that Ms. Jadell presented, beginning of last school year.
It wasn't in the academic.
So if it,
Okay, so this is part of the proposed policy. It's as stated. In unexcused late arrivals, early dismissals in a semester will convert to one unexcused absence. So unless that is contested or revised, that's what the policy will be.
We would accept the policy as presented. And if there is anyone that disagree, there's always an opportunity to appeal it. But this is general statutes.
Okay, but that opportunity is now, correct?
No, this is policy that we're making to go into our policy manual to go before the board.
And it also,
So that it would give staff time to look into anything that maybe need to be added to it.
it also,
Put that in practice, there is an appeal process tied to that. My heartburn is elementary kids who don't drive, who parents make them tardy, penalize those students because of adults' behavior. That's the case.
It is.
Elementary.
And I'll tell you this, Dr. Williamson, I can only speak for myself at the elementary level. That's just something that we never even, we don't even try to keep up with, because if we did, that would be a whole separate job that we'd have to look at. But yeah, and it's because, they're relying on parents to get them here. I don't think we can hold them accountable for that.
And I'm thinking something different. I'm actually thinking about the compulsory attendance law. If it's gonna go as an unexcused absence, who's gonna keep track of, hey, they were tardy 40 times, so they were missed 6 times, but now this is gonna look like 10, and we're gonna take them to court, but they're actually at school, they were just tardy.
You're gonna mark the kid absent for being in school a day.
That's what I'm saying, I don't.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Bullard, if I may ask, you said you believe Ms. Jadell rolled that out at the beginning of this fiscal academic.
Yeah.
It was last second year.
Okay, because
I think we took that off, Ms. Jennifer. I
it was not in there for this academic
don't think it was.
year. We didn't.
but it does state in the policy, the superintendent or designee shall list in code of student conduct the specific range of consequences that may be imposed on a student for such offenses. So the superintendent factors in there,
And that's always been.
so.
Someone does it.
I agree with the recommendation to approve the policy as written, and then it would fall on the superintendent to put it in practice when necessary. And I would request from principals
Correct.
for that to happen.
And I support that.
I do too.
We didn't roll that. Where that's coming from.
Okay,
Make a motion, we'll accept.
Second.
favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Okay, so, moving on to, 4,600 student fees.
Do that students have, personal lockers now?
I don't know about during this pandemic.
I mean, from what I've seen, most schools are doing away with the lockers. Do y'all use them, Jason?
We give them the opportunity, so I tell Dr. Robert,
Yeah.
very few students take, RTC uses them kind of, to keep, closing stuff in, they'll do a locker, but very few students now do a locker. Still offer it though.
Do we charge a fee for that use?
We can lock,
Okay,
give them the lock, basically, the fee is to rent the lock.
Right.
That way, you don't have outside locks on your campus, you can just open it anytime you need to.
That's correct.
okay. That being said, I make a motion to accept policy 4600 as stated.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Student records. There is, an editorial change in, under heading C, student educational records.
Who's responsible for those? I see that it says the principal is, but does he normally designate, or is that common practice for every school?
I mean, the maintenance.
Like a data manager, does data manager, or somebody like that?
Combination of the teacher and counselor, usually. Megan, you wanna?
So it's a combination of as Ms. Jennifer stated, between the counselor and the teacher. The teacher has to go through the cumulative folders, make sure they're updated accordingly, and then the counselor goes in behind the check to make sure it's properly.
That would be the designee. That would be the principal's responsibility to meet those designees, but they
Okay.
are maintained properly.
Y'all see, y'all, does everybody accept what's there?
Do the committee think anything else need to be added? Hearing none.
There's quite a list there. If there's those comprehensive,
That we
Me.
approve. And on to the board.
Yeah, and it's got the parent covered also. I make motion we'll accept if everybody's in accordance.
I just did. Exactly.
Second.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Okay, then, none of the rest of the policies have any proposed revisions. However, there is
That's all of it.
page 6 and page 7 of 15, there is a lot of sections in red.
Miss Lloyd, did we miss anything? That you had down for today?
I did participate in that law conference just last Thursday and Friday also. And the only thing I thought of here was the SRO for schools. And it was given limits of, involvement they should or should not do working with the principal. So I think this here, from what I'm seeing, reading here would work good with the SRO guidelines also.
Mr. Superintendent, is there anything else that should be added?
No, not to my knowledge. I will ask though, we're still purging discipline records at the end of the year. That happened, that's supposed to be an automatic purge. That record doesn't move forward.
Every year,
We still have a history of it, but as a moving document, moving forward from grade, it's supposed to be purged at the end of the year.
We purge them, but like we normally box them up and keep them like 2 or 3 years, but every year starts out a new slate, unless it was a 365 suspension or something like that.
But what shows up in Power School is purged at the end of the year.
No.
Now, the incidents go on, once the person is in the incidences, it stays in there, so you can always go back to.
Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Gentry?
Yep.
One of the things that I may have looked at, I don't remember everything. Students that has graduated from high schools, parents are saying they're having an issue trying to get their requirements for school.
Kind of why.
Help me out with the word language.
Transcripts.
Transcript, thank you. See, y'all gotta remember, I'm in my 60s now, okay?
Basically, what everybody's done is everybody's gone through Scribbles, so all they have to do is log on,
And it's online.
it's the transcript. I mean, it's the same thing, but the only thing is, we don't have them on campus.
That's the problem they said they're having. So they were saying, is there a policy in place and everything?
There it is right there.
Okay.
They'll just go through, click here on Scribble.
This is the third.
Really easy to do it now. Like I said, you go in, you click, you put where you're from and all your information. You pay for it online. They send normally it's the guidance tech. She goes in. We got a book that says, okay, Jason Suggs is in box 46. So they will go to 46, pull it out, scan it, send it right back.
And if there is an issue with our system, a place where they could contact the school and make them a reference of it, anyone, they need to
There's
contact.
no records once they graduate. We have no more records. We would have to contact them. Because what happened was like Lumberton High School, St. Paul's had one room that had probably what was like 60 filing cabinets. I mean, you couldn't even move hardly in there.
Because a mother from the St. Paul area did call me, Mr. Suggs, in reference to our policy in regards to it, and I just told her our policy is online.
We don't necessarily have a policy, but that's just what the county adopted 2 or 3 years ago.
I just try not for them to call the school for everything, because of them being so caught up. And I did go online to look at it, and there was some issues. We tried it. There was some issues. So it could have been a storm that was prohibiting everything to go through, because that happens sometimes.
Like I said, even though when they call or they come up here, we normally have like a little piece of paper that has the information on it. You just follow the steps. Because when they come up here, it's all the tell them.
And they cannot use Cash App, correct?
I don't think so.
Because that's what a parent asked me. Okay. I'm just asking.
The biggest deal we have normally is when they come up there and they'll say, I need this today.
Right.
Sorry, we don't have it.
Okay, great.
Even back before then, we used to tell them, give us 3 to 5 days because we had to go down there and locate it and everything else. But that's been the biggest thing. I mean, people,
Okay.
like right then, and it's,
That was that. She said, I gotta have it today. She claimed she had tried to track 3 weeks. And I said, I can't promise you nothing for today, but I promise you I'll look into it.
like I said, I had one girl come up the other day and she asked for a transcript because she was going to, I forgot what school it was. She graduated last year. If I had done it, when it
Western
came,
University.
there was nothing done and she never submitted it.
Okay,
Never submitted it, then you never
okay.
got it, so they didn't know to get with us.
It's the same one, but it's Western. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one the other day, but yeah, she got taken care of it, went in there, took it to the, guidance tech, she went and showed her everything to do, and she was fine.
So let's make sure that it's on our webpage, our sites, step by step, making if it's not on our homepage, let's make sure.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know what we'll do for parents to understand how to work technology. I'm not, I can do my legal online, okay? I'm good in legal and doing my orders for vendors and things, but certain things I have an issue with technology. It's because I need training, that's all. Mr. Cole, you hear me? And I don't know what we can do because things were set up for parents to participate at some of the schools. And I don't know what we'll do about it. But anyway, Mr. Chairman, I move that we close this section of the.
Well, along those same lines, I have a question. In the review and filing of photos, and videos, and video recordings, exactly what medium would be used to document that or to insert that as part of the student's record? Would it be a thumb drive, or how would that actually happen?
I'll take it, so I know. What was the question?
Repeat, Mr.
How would the video or audio recordings become part of the student permanent record?
Wooden.
Medium would it?
Same thing what was in their overall CUNY folder, which was, they take stuff out every year, but mostly it's just a transcript, shop record, copy of birth certificate, testing information, ACT.
Which one is he referring to? Where's he at?
As far as the enforcement of it, the administration would take charge of that.
We don't ever put this.
Superintendent's being overall, but administration and his designee takes care of the enforcement portion of it. The policies is here for us to make certain that we'll govern ourselves pursuant to what the general statute of the state states for public school laws. How each, like, St. Paul's High may do. Nevertheless, each one is complying with the policy of the state law, public schools.
For example, Section D, a copy of the video or audio recording or photo will be provided to a parent or eligible student. And it goes on to discuss the circumstances or the conditions under which those would be provided. My question was about what would be the actual material
Right.
way that it would be stored so that it could be distributed
Right.
to the appropriate person.
And the best way that I can address it as a board member is through North Carolina School Board Association. We do have workshops that does show you how each school may vary in doing such. But don't they have one coming up, Harry?
Yeah.
And it will show you exactly how everything is done pursuant to the law for our schools. But like I said, every school may vary, but they still got to comply with what the law is. But these are the policies.
last Thursday and Friday had some good information too.
Right.
Yeah.
But it does say here that, before records are destroyed, parents should be notified. Yep.
Again, I make a motion that we
No fee will be charged to recognize
start this section if everybody.
That was,
disabilities.
and the policies 4705 through 4720 do not call for action. Okay.
Ms. Floyd said we,
Beg pardon?
Ms. Floyd said we done all the policies that's down to do for today.
Right, right,
That's why we're closing the meeting out.
right. So do I hear a motion that we adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. Meeting is adjourned.
Good meeting.